Do you want to pass the Florida real estate exam on your first try? In this video, we'll go over 20 key questions based on essential topics that frequently appear on the exam. We'll review brokerage operations, escrow handling, and professional conduct in real estate. You'll learn about branch office requirements, commission calculations, escrow deposits, and dispute procedures. We'll also cover licensing rules, advertising regulations, partnership structures, and legal compliance under Chapter 475 of Florida law. But keep in mind, this is just a small sample of our full review course where we dive much deeper into every section of the exam. You can access the complete review through the link in the description below. And if you find this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next tips, lessons, and exam strategies to help you pass on your first try. Let's dive right in. Question 21. All of the following are requirements for a branch office sign, except, now remember, a branch office sign must follow the same exact rules as the main office sign. That means the same three required elements must appear. So, let's review them. Is the phrase licensed real estate broker required? Yes. Is the name of at least one active broker required? Yes. But what are they asking for? They're asking for the exception, the one that's not required, and that would be the word branch. That's the answer. The name of the company must appear? Yes. But it's not necessary to include the word branch on the sign. Question 22. Now let's look at a math question that's quite unrealistic in real life, because no seller is going to agree to pay one commission rate for part of the price and a different rate for another part. That might happen in commercial transactions, but not in a regular home sale. The licensee earns 25% commission on all sales. If the property sells for $65,000 and the seller agrees to pay 5.5% on the first half of the price and 6.5% on the second half, what will be the sales associate's commission? So, here's the situation. The property sold for $65,000. The first half, $32,500, will pay a 5.5% commission. The second half, also $32,500, will pay 6.5% commission. Now the question is, how much will the sales associate earn if their split is 25% of all commissions? Here's how we solve it. We first need to find both partial commissions, then add them together to get the total commission, and finally calculate 25% of the total. Let's do it. 5.5% of $32,500 equals $1,787.50. 6.5% of $32,500 equals $2,112.50. Now add them up. The total commission is $3,900. Finally, 25% of $3,900 equals $975. So the answer would be option A, $975. Question 23. The top sales associate in a brokerage wants to work from a home office because the main office is too noisy. He is willing to pay all the expenses of setting up the new office. According to the situation above, what is the correct course of action? So what's the correct course of action? That's allowed only if the broker registers that location as a branch office and transfers the sales associate's license to that branch. It doesn't matter if the agent pays all the expenses or if the zoning allows it. The key is, if the broker registers it as a branch office, then yes, it's permitted. Question 24. If the only active broker of a brokerage firm has their license suspended and is not replaced within 14 calendar days after the suspension, the corporation's registration will be canceled. That's right. If the only active broker loses their license and isn't replaced within 14 days, the company's registration gets automatically canceled. Question 25. Broker Juan has placed his office sign on the door of his brokerage. Broker Jorge has only placed a small nameplate on top of his desk. They share the same office and secretary. Now, here's the key part of the question, guys. They are not partners, but the public believe they are. That situation has a specific name, and that's what the question is asking. It's called an ostensible partnership. Remember this term. When two brokers appear to be partners, but they're not, that's what we call an ostensible partnership. Question 26. An earnest money deposit may be placed in any of the following institutions, except an insurance company. Escrow deposits can be placed in banks, credit unions, or savings associations, but never in an insurance company. Question 27. Without proper authorization, a sales associate may not accept as an earnest money deposit a post-dated check. If the seller gives permission, then yes, it can be accepted, but the associate must first get the seller's approval. If no authorization is given, they're not allowed to take that post-dated check as a deposit. Question 28. A seller and a buyer have a dispute over an earnest money deposit and agree to submit the issue to a neutral third party who will make a binding decision. Let's underline that phrase, binding decision, because that's the key. When a neutral third party makes a binding decision, that process is called arbitration. You have to memorize that. Now, this same question might come up with a variation that says, who helps the parties reach a negotiated settlement? In that case, the answer would be mediation. So, binding decision, arbitration, negotiated solution, mediation. Question 29. A correct statement about earnest money deposits received by a licensed real estate broker is that these deposits, and you'll need to memorize this one. Option C, deposits may be placed in escrow accounts held in a commercial bank, a title company with trust powers, a credit union, a savings association, or even with a Florida attorney, if that's what the contract specifies. And here's a little test-taking tip from students who've already taken the state exam. For this question, and only this one, the longest answer tends to be the correct one, so yes, learn it well. But if your mind goes blank on exam day, look for the longest option. Question 30. A real estate broker gives a client an opinion about the title of a property the broker was trying to sell based on information obtained from public records. Has the broker violated Chapter 475? A broker should never go dig up that information personally. They must only rely on what's stated in the attorney's opinion of title. So, in this case, yes, the broker has violated Chapter 475 because a broker can only give an opinion about a property's title if it is based on the recent opinion of a licensed attorney. Now, could there be any confusing options on the test? Yes. For example, option B says no, if the title is clear. That's wrong. Option C says yes, unless one of the parties, such as the buyer or seller, requested the broker's opinion. That's also wrong. The law doesn't say unless someone asks. It's in all cases, you cannot do it unless the opinion comes from a lawyer. Question 31. A broker was a member of an appraisers association, but after failing to pay the annual dues, was removed from the organization's membership list. The broker kept the membership sign displayed on one of the office walls. What can be said about this situation? That's a violation because the broker is no longer an active member. Be careful not to confuse this with an answer that says it's a violation because brokers are prohibited from displaying any other signs. That's false. The problem here is not the extra sign, it's the misrepresentation of still being a member when you're not. Question 32. Earnest money deposits must be placed in the escrow account as soon as possible, or as the law says, immediately. Now remember, immediately in real estate doesn't mean run out the door and do it right now. It has a legal definition. The sales associate has 1 business day to deliver the deposit to the broker. The broker then has 3 business days total to deposit it into escrow. So when you read the word immediately on the exam, think as soon as possible Legally, 1 business day for the associate, 3 for the broker. Question 33. The partners of a real estate company want to work directly with the public in real estate activities. What must these partners do? If they want to deal with the public, all of them must hold an active broker's license. That's it. Question 34. A licensed real estate professional owns a property located in front of a dock. The property's price is $75,000. However, the sales associate is willing to lower the price and decides to sell and advertise it on his own. Which of the following statements is correct? If the licensee wants to sell it privately using his own money, he must cover all the costs himself. That's the answer. If the licensee chooses to sell his own property, he can absolutely do it, but he must pay for everything out of his own pocket. Question 35. A client asks a broker to recommend a contractor to remodel their recently purchased home. The broker receives a commission from the contractor. This is legal. Yes, as long as all parties are fully informed in advance. We already covered this in question number 1. Transparency is key. Question 36. When a broker encounters a dispute over who is entitled to receive an earnest money deposit, what is the first thing the broker should do? The correct answer: notify the frake in writing. And how much time does the broker have to do that? 15 business days. That's the rule. Memorize it. Question 37. Which of the following is the only requirement for a corporation to operate as a real estate company? The answer is simple. The corporation must have at least one actively licensed broker. That's the only thing required. It doesn't need sales associates, it doesn't need a director, and it doesn't matter whether the licensed individuals are shareholders or not. As long as there's one active broker, the corporation can legally operate. Question 38. A company named ABC Company is established as, and you need to memorize this, a for-profit corporation. The keyword here is company. Whenever you see company in the name, it means it's a for-profit entity. That's what the law defines. For-profit. Question 39. A tenant of an apartment wants to move to another property located in a different neighborhood of their choice. To do so, they hire a licensee and purchase a rental list for $100. After 20 days, the tenant finds a property that perfectly fits their needs but decides not to move because their current lease has not yet expired. On the 31st day, they contact the sales associate to request a refund. How much will be refunded under these circumstances? 0, nothing, because he exceeded the 30-day deadline. He had 30 days to make the claim, and he asked for it on day 31. Question 40. A model home is used occasionally to conduct closings. Based on what you have studied, what should be done? According to the law, even if it's used only once, it must still be registered as a branch office. That's right. Even if you only use it occasionally, one single use is enough to require registration as a branch office.